3, 2, 1.
I told you before to be careful where you put your legs.
I was only trying to be helpful.
I can help myself.
What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
For 7 decades, Michael Caine has been among the world's most renowned and recognisable actors.
It was just what I needed. A 1-inch god with a 2-inch penis.
The star of classics like Zulu, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Cider House Rules.
It's a miracle no one was killed.
But also films that brought his career to the brink of complete implosion.
I made a mistake.
Somehow, he has always found a way back.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job.
In this epic podcast series, we will watch and review every Michael Caine movie, from the greatest hits
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
to the incredible misses,
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
and take a deep dive into the life and work of one of the world's most recognisable film stars.
His name is Michael Caine, and no one will forget his name.
To understand how he has made the mark of Caine.
Well, you all settled in? Right, we can begin.
For God's sake, come in.
Hello and welcome to The Mark of Caine, our ongoing march through the works of Michael Caine, watching every movie no matter what fate befalls us as a result. My name is Michael Foley, and joining me as always is Stephen Black on this trek. Stephen, I was thinking about this. There's a lot of themes in today's movie that I kind of feel apply to us right now. Today's movie is Ashanti.
Oh, please, I do hope that you're going to equate the two middle-aged guys doing a podcast that they hate to the plight of black people in slavery. Please. You get a nice February cancellation for yourself.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. We are like those poor people in the middle of it that are being forced marched through the Sahara Desert, chained together, with no sign of relief. And when they do get to like some kind of, oasis and a bit of water, they basically get like, for example, I don't know, The Man Who Would Be King. You get to dunk your head in it and then you get pulled back out again and back into something like Ashanti. That's Ashanti. I hate Ashanti.
I think the only difference here is we've forged the chains that we carry. Actually tying it back, isn't it, to Jacob Marley and Up with Christmas Carol?
Yes.
It's where the chains he forged in life.
Yeah.
There's a bit of synergy there. You see.
I like what you did there. Yeah, these are self-forged chains. We have the keys. We possess the keys. I have to say, of all the movies we've watched so far, this was the one at the end that left me possibly thinking about reaching for the key and going, I can't do this anymore. Ashanti. It just came out. I knew it was going to be terrible, but it was terrible in a way that I didn't expect.
I knew. I mean, I'd heard of it before. I mean, it's again, but it's like with Caine. Oh, this is the one he says. Like he's worst. He was the worst film. But I mean, he's got about 6 or 7 movies that he says that about.
Yeah.
So it's really how seriously you're supposed to take him. And I guarantee you that the worst thing about this for him was the experience, not the actual quality of the movie. Because I guarantee he's never fucking seen it. I guarantee you what he bitching about the fact that he's in Kenya and he has to work with a fucking camel and it's hot, and he has to squat in a fucking hole in the sand. Instead of being set up in some hotel in Paris where he gets a rocks on and set at about 10:30 in the morning hungover. That's what's wrong with him. No fucking luxury.
Yeah.
That's what he's bitching about.
Yeah, I think you're almost definitely correct. Like, I mean, the real reason that this movie is an absolute stinker is the tone, the way they handle, like the bones of Ashanti before we start to get into it is doctor with wife administering vaccines or whatever in African jungle to village. A wife gets kidnapped, and then it's a chase to get her back from the slave traders who have kidnapped her. And that's there. As the story goes, that's the decent start, right? That's a decent start.
It's basically taken.
It's taken. Yeah, it's taken. And it's a decent premise. But my good God in heaven, talk about incinerating a decent premise and turning it into a borderline international incident stroke career-ending apocalypse. It's unbelievable what they've done.
Well, that's it. And we don't even, you've heard the plot. It's 1970. What is it, 1979?
Yeah, 79.
The movie is Ashanti. Roll the trailer.
Michael Caine, Peter Ustinov, Kabir Bedi, Beverly Johnson, Omar Sharif, Rex Harrison, William Holden, Ashanti. Africa, where slavery still exists today.
This is Dr. Linderby. Not very well, I'm afraid. One of our doctors has been kidnapped.
I'm a medical doctor, and I work for the United Nations.
Slavers.
What did you say?
You won't have a chance finding them in the Sahara. You best leave now before they get to it. And everywhere you go, you'll hear that slavery is a thing of the past. Don't believe it.
But Ansok, I am not in the habit of selling damaged goods. Be gentle.
What is her market value?
I would say, having seen your wife's photograph, 50,000. I think you'll need a vulture to find him.
Fucking Ashanti. Right. Like, this is basically part of a holy trinity of sort of career-defining awfulness for Caine. So you have The Swarm, Ashanti, and Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. They all come out within a year or two of each other. We've watched The Swarm. There was a bit of a laugh. You know, it was terrible, but it was a bit of a laugh. I've never seen Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. I'm praying that it's terrible, but a bit of a laugh. This, I didn't expect. You say you would know a little bit. I didn't really know a lot about this apart from the Peter Ustinov was in it with him, to be brutally honest, was all I knew. I was expecting some bit of a laugh. This was not a laugh.
It is not a laugh. No, there no laugh. All I'd heard, literally all I'd heard about Ashanti is that it's a terrible movie, and Caine did not enjoy making it. That was it. So expectations at this stage are always set at fucking grown zero, you know.
Yeah.
But I've issues even with the title of this, Ashanti. Like the Beverly Johnson's character is not called Ashanti, so she's from the tribe called Ashanti. It's literally like calling the movie Cork.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the fuck? You know, I guarantee you that went to, because if you look at the poster's pure sexploitation. It's a picture of Beverly Johnson, kind of drawn in like Jessica Rabbit, on the front of the poster, in a real 70s. I think we're almost in the 80s now, but a 70s exploitation manner, and Ashanti. As if that's right, because they probably haven't even explained that much to the lad to design the poster.
And then a picture of 5 men or 6 men underneath it. Yeah. You know what I mean? The 5 actual stars. It's
real Lust in the Dust vibe.
It's terrible. Like she's there kind of kneeling, kind of, you know, with the kind of clothes half ragged torn off, or kind of Raquel Welch style, and the hands up. And it's. Yeah. We'll talk about Beverly Johnson in a while, because she's a very interesting story, I think, out of this. But yeah, it's pure exploitation from the get-go. I mean, it's clear to me anyway. I mean, whatever. I mean, I do not cut Caine any slack on this at all. But it's clear that he was dealing with a bunch of absolute bastards from the get-go in terms of how this film was conceived, the idea for it, and how they were going to sell it. You're just dealing with absolute bastards. Is the only word I can come up with.
Well, the director was replaced. The leading lady was replaced, which is never a good sign. But after you start shooting, but again, the script is the script. I can't imagine that it was changed that much. I'm sure Beverly Johnson felt shortchanged by the way that she was treated. She's not a very good actress. In fact, she's terrible in this.
Beverly Johnson, by the way, for anybody, I mean, I wouldn't have known who Beverly Johnson was. Beverly Johnson was a very, very famous model in the mid-70s. I think she was the first African American on the front. I'm going to say Vogue or Cosmo, one or the other. So she was a very famous individual at the time, and you know, didn't she have a reality TV show a bunch of years ago, I think, as well? Like maybe 8 or 9 years ago, she had something. Anyway, very famous person in the 70s.
Yeah, but not a very good actress. And I mean, for this role, like, why bother? I mean, could you think about it? Would this have been any better if she was a better actress? No, because you still left with the fucking rancid corpse around her, you know? Fucking Caine couldn't look less interested. Peter Ustinov, I'm absolutely 100% convinced is the Ray Winston of his day.
Explain.
Completely unable to disappear into any role, unable to carry an accent for more than 2 minutes. I mean, Peter Ustinov, a white man, is playing an Arab called Suleiman. And in fairness, they don't really do a lot of the brown face in this, which I guess is, you know, be thankful for small mercies.
It seems to get, in fairness, it does seem to get browner as the show goes on.
Yeah, I think they maybe thought it was, they don't really stick to it as such.
Yeah, he's not lacquered like Herbert Lom and Gambit all those years ago. Like, you know, he's not.
Yeah, he's not that bad. No, but but he's just a dreadful actor. And he's got a Russian accent, a kind of an Arab accent, goes back in through Middle East, and then kind of goes more like to the Count from Sesame Street. Yes. It's much like Ray Winston, who is pound for pound one of the worst actors of all time.
Well, like the Ustinov, it was actually a selling point at the time when the movie came out, was that this was the first time Peter Ustinov played an out-and-out bad guy. He plays the slave trader whose people abduct.
Help me cast my mind back now. Didn't Peter Ustinov play Emperor Nero, notoriously a benevolent leader?
Yeah, very, very moderate, progressive. Yeah, and also, of course, he played
wonderful musician.
He played the kind of bad guy in Spartacus as well, but of course it was all divinity, and it was all he's because when you get Ustinov, you always get this element of kind of lightness. And the problem, I suppose, in 1979, by that stage, is that he is in full-on international raconteur mode. Like, so when he's playing this, and I mean, if you look at the Suleiman character on paper and read what he does and what he allows,
he's a terrible person.
It's an awful character, but the way Ustinov plays him,
he's not like those good slavers that you read about.
Yeah, the sound lads, like the good Nazis. He's not like this at all. He is really, he's almost playing it for laughs, and you're like, oh my god. It's another thing. Tone is a huge thing in this film. The tone is all over the place, and Ustinov is central to that. It's just the wrong entire. You can't stop with half smirking at times, while Suleiman, for example, facilitates the rape of a child inside the first 20 minutes. And I think, would it be fair to say, Stephen, that's when the movie just disappears?
I mean, you can't put something like that in a movie and then 10 minutes later have a kind of a slapstick scene where Caine battles his camel, and that's not a euphemism.
2 full minutes of Caine trying to get on a camel.
Yeah, you can't really. It's one of those things. You have an intimated child rape scene. You kind of go, right, the tone has to be pretty serious for the rest of the movie, and you have to kind of carry that through. Yeah. No, they don't manage that.
They can't. They don't know what they want to do with it. Right up to the very, very, very end. They don't know what the hell they're doing with this film.
They just ended it. They decided they're just everything about it just seems slapdash and last minute and badly choreographed. So many montages of people walking through the desert. Felt like fucking Jesus during Lent. Like, it was. although to be fair to him, he wouldn't have called it Lent at the time. Maybe he was probably thinking of a name, maybe a brand for it. But you know what I mean.
How would you call it?
Borrow? No, that makes no sense.
No.
So hungry, sand starved. Sand starved.
No, it needs to be one syllable. It needs to be punchy, catchy.
Jesus so hungry? No. We're not going to solve that particular problem.
No, we're going to take at least 40 days and 40 nights to sort that one out. It's not going to get solved.
There we go. Yeah.
So, look, you gave a little bit of the plot before. Is that enough? Do we need to get into
You're the one who gave the plot. You said two UN doctors. Your one gets kidnapped by slavers. Yeah. He goes trying to find, and he's so he really does not seem that upset. And
it needs to be pointed out. Yeah, can we start on the camera? I want to start exactly there. So they're in this African village, and they're vaccinating people, and she goes for a skinny dip. She gets lifted by Suleiman's people. And so now the chase is on, right? So straight away you get the kind of useless African bureaucracy. We can do nothing for you, sir. So it's up to Caine. What am I going to do?
So cancellation for the podcast. He's doing well. Let's get the hat trick, the hat trick before we finish.
He's panicked. Sort of. Oh my God! He's fevered chase to find his wife. How does it start? It starts with a bus trip, which, I mean, a bus trip in Africa. I've done them. It takes a long time to get anywhere. So I'd say he had a hell of and there's actually even a bit in the middle where he's sitting beside a lad who offers him like a lime or an apple, I don't know, something. And it's kind of like he smiles at him, and it's like, oh, he's having a nice little break now to start to get himself together after all that, after all the stress, Nice.
Yeah, there's no kind of, I would just say, momentum to the movie, really, especially when your leading man is just kind of, well, this is really inconvenient. I suppose I better go get her. I got to catch hell from the in-laws.
That's it. Like, I have to be seen to make the effort. I think next thing he meets Rex Harrison, who is just like something out of Monty Python in this film. Like,
like himself and William Holden. Just look, they're just like they've been injected briefly. That kind of what is it? What's it in The Simpsons for the pocket fox? It's just like they give that little they from Monty Burns. It's just like they give that little injection of amphetamine before the screen. It's like and they it keeps them going for like 30 seconds at a time. Rex Harrison. It's just
terrible.
Rex Harrison is just a terrible person. He's just evil man.
So,
you know, he's you know, you got about let's say we'll be talking about Beverly Johnson later and how fucking miserable time she had in this movie and subsequent to that. But like Rex Harrison married 4 or 5 times. Was I think one of numerous affairs. Went to received a suicide note from one of his let's say ex-girlfriends. Goes over to her house, finds her dead. Does nothing about it. I think waits until the next day before the authorities are called. Another wife that he has is diagnosed with, I think, as pancreatic cancer. The doctor tells him, but doesn't tell her. He and I think he's I think it was actually his ex-wife at the time decided not to tell her because it's better for her. So your one says she dies without knowing that she dies of pancreatic cancer. And then a later wife also commits suicide. A wife or girlfriend also commits suicide.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Dr. Doolittle, how are you?
Yeah. Dr. Do fuck all.
Apparently so. This is another case again. So you have Rex Harrison. Rex Harrison is playing this guy who's in the anti-slavery league, and he's like a link for Caine to people who can help him find his wife. But he's Monty Python British. I believe you're in a slight pickles. I don't know. I think it's almost impossible you're going to find him. It's terrible. William Holden is there. Yet again, it reminded me of The Swarm, you know, where Caine gets kind of lumbered with this geriatric cast that he has to deal with. And like Holden was like I think he's the third replacement on this one. I just
Holden's character is hilarious. Holden's character comes on and he's supposed to be better. You can't afford me. I'm a tough guy. I'm a mercenary. You know, I have no morals. I have no qualms, no quandaries about killing or hurting people. If you pay for me, this is what you're going to get. I don't want to hear about any of your liberal bleatings. Is about, it should be said, 105 years of age. Does not in any way radiate menace.
No.
And dies within 10 minutes of his introduction as he is shot by Suleiman. As
Peter
I don't even know what they're doing. Peter Ustinov shoots you.
Ustinov shoots you. Like that's. I mean, even the way he's holding it, it's like Ustinov might be about to blow into the gun. Never mind, pull the trigger. Yeah. And he shoots him. He's like Holden is in a helicopter. Ustinov shoots him from a raft
through the heart,
bobbing on a river through the heart. I mean, it's I don't know about it's Lee Harvey Oswald stuff, like incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, but he's a crack shot. Sure, he shoots one of his guys through the feet. He bullet Christs him from a distance, like
he does. It's incredible. So Holden, and also William Holden is acting like it's 1942. That's the other thing.
And he's 1942, and he's in his 30s.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliantly awful. It's brilliantly awful. Rex Harrison apparently. So they, after the first week of filming, and as you say, the original director walked off. Richard Sarafian. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Sarafian.
Doesn't matter.
Sarafian. Anyway,
doesn't matter.
He walked off after a week. Telly Savalas was actually meant to play the William Holden character, and they tried someone else, and they couldn't get him, so they got Holden. So when they reconvened, they ended up in Israel. I think they filmed a bit in Israel. So Rex Harrison landed in from Hollywood, and apparently the story goes that there was nobody there to collect him when he arrived. So he promptly turned around, got on a flight back to Hollywood again, and they had to wait for him to come back out again. It's just
surely that's more inconvenient.
Oh, completely. I mean, it's the work, it's the actions of an elderly geriatric guy who has not realized yet that you should just be glad of any paycheck you're getting at this point. It's just not
William Holden was doing it because he owned a safari club in the area, and it was like, basically free flights.
Free flights. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Both of them, it was their third last film ever. I think Holden died a couple of years later. But from the Caine performance point of view, it's just terrible from top to bottom. He makes no excuses ever since for wanting to just get in and out of that. He claims that it's the first movie he just did for the check, which we know is complete bollocks because he did Silver Bears for the check. But anyway, he has never over the years kind of bought from saying it's a terrible movie, don't watch it. But we did. He sweats more than Too Late. I don't think I've ever seen him sweating as much. Even Too Late, the hero looks positively moderate compared to the amount of sweat patches that are on him. Somehow he was chosen, apparently. He was chosen for this role or asked for this role because of Zulu. That's what the producers of the movie said. We liked him in Zulu. We said he'd work in Ashanti. I mean, apart from them being based on the same continent, that's about as much as I can say of a parallel. Do you see any?
Well, let's put it this way:
parallels?
the producers don't seem like the sharpest tools in the box here now. In fairness, so just another bad decision they made.
Did you also notice that Beverly Johnson in the role as his wife in the film looks uncannily like Shakira?
Shakira, the Colombian pop star.
Yeah, because she was well known in 1970. Shakira, how old was Shakira in 1979? A toddler in Colombia. Shakira, Mrs. Caine.
I guess I didn't really draw those parallels.
Oh, it hit me straight between the eyes. That they were.
I assume with you again, as we've already established, maybe one personal colours on screen, and because your point of reference is so narrow.
Maybe, I can't see beyond colour. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Couple of things to throw at you, right? Here's a couple of things. Fighting Caine. So the end of the movie, right?
So incompetent.
It's terrible. So by the end of the movie, as we said, they completely don't know what to do with it. So they've been chasing Suleiman and this slave.
Don't forget, in between that, abandoning children in the desert.
Yes, let's come back to that in a second. They abandon a bunch of slave kids in the desert as well, which we'll come back to in a second. But just the ending of the fight and Fighting Caine, right? So by the end of the film, the director and the producers have decided, right, we're going to have a really dramatic kind of heart-to-heart style ending here. So they have Omar Sharif has arrived at this stage, by the way, as the rich Arabian prince who's going to purchase Caine's wife from Suleiman, right? So he's on the yacht.
It's taken completely.
Yeah,
I mean, bizarrely taken the premise for this show, changed a couple of. They've made it better, obviously, because it's Liam Neeson punching guys in the throat. But
yeah, exactly.
Essentially, to be fair, I'm more broad racial stereotypes within Taken, a film in the noughties than a movie that was released in 1979. However,
how badly I wanted to punch Peter Ustinov in the throat during this film. But anyway, so at the very end of this one, they arrive. So Caine and Malik. Sorry, Malik, by the way, who he picked up on the way through the desert to try and track Suleiman. So the two lads, anyway, arrive up on a speedboat, blaring up to this huge yacht, undetected. They go get onto the yacht and they go kind of, onto the second level of the yacht.
I believe the official title is the Wickswain.
Well, thank you very much.
I have no idea. It sounds boaty.
So they went up onto the Wickswain, and Malik, right, wipes out two kind of beefcake guys who were dressed in matching t-shirts, right? And then Caine.
They look two lads, basically two Jean-Paul Gaultier aftershave bottles.
Exactly. So then Caine jumps down from the Wickswain down to the level below where his wife is being kept.
Deck.
The hoop deck. He jumps from the Wickswain to the hoop deck, But now I'll let you take this from here because everything happens in slow motion after this. So he jumps down, he lands on a mattress or something. Then he has time to get up. The guard gives him a chance.
But it's not in slow motion. That's the whole point. Is that Caine arthritically raises himself and then, in the most pathetic slap fight I've ever seen, attempts to overpower the man in Arab dress, fails absolutely, and has to be saved again by Malik before escaping. Like Malik is essentially left to die for no reason whatsoever, other than, I don't know, just we have a couple of squibs left over. Let's just put him on your man and just have him die at the end of the movie. It's bizarre in the middle of this. And in any way tense or dramatic.
And by the way, so when the fight ensues, and you might be wondering what happens to Omar Sharif, the prince. Omar Sharif, basically, as the fight's going on, Omar Sharif's character opens a door in the yacht and closes it behind him, and that's the last we see of him. That's it. He just closes the door, and that character is now gone.
Africa, Ashanti. Michael Caine.
We should have given this guy a lot of some credit before this, but while we're doing a podcast like charting all these movies, there's a chap called John Laking out there who's actually blogging every single Caine movie. Only a Bloody Blog, I think it's called. But I was reading his take on Ashanti and the ending in particular, and he took a long time to figure out the tone no more than ourselves, and he settled on it. According to himself, he settles on it being the ending now being a cross between the A Team and the end of Police Academy 5 Assignment Miami Beach, which I think is pretty good. That's pretty much it.
It's fair enough. And they again, not helped by a soundtrack that basically does sound exactly like a heart-to-heart episode. It's
really
just
does.
Completely at odds with the tone of the movie and really fucking cheap direct-to-video rubbish.
It's just dreadful. Now, to rewind back to your slave, the slave children left in the desert. Do you want to explain that one?
Yeah, and again, like Malik is in on this because Suleiman is responsible for the death of his wife and children via slavery, and teams up with Caine, well, helps him for money to track down, but does not know what Suleiman looks like. So they come across this group of kids that are being held by slavers in the middle of the desert. Malik goes in the offensive, again showing the kind of skills, showing the kind of murder skills that somehow entirely desert him at the end of the movie. Where he basically in this scene kills about 10 lads with just a knife. These are all armed, and yet has problem with the fucking cast of the village people. But it's just to kill about 10 lads with basically a knife. These guys are armed as well, and then by the end of the movie, it has issues with fucking disarming and murdering the village people.
Yeah,
does all of that. Turns out it's not Suleiman, and they are basically tell the kids, well, this is a very hard decision, but we're going to have to leave you here to die, or you can go in this direction, and the Tuareg will enslave you.
Will enslave you, but at least they will get a meal.
Yeah. But Caine makes the tough decision there to go, and finds the wife that he seems mildly perturbed by her disappearance. That's basically it.
Yeah, there is a moment.
Again, Christmas is going to be really awkward. To be like, where's Ashanti? Because that's not her name. Because again, if the producer of the movie can't be arsed and fucking put her name in the poster, why should I?
Why should we? So at that moment, so he's making that decision, and of course, then we get emotional Caine. So he's kind of crying and screaming, but it goes from kind of like, we can't leave the children, and of course, as we know, Caine, according to himself, doesn't cry in real life, so we only get to see him shed tears on screen. So he's like, I can't leave the children. To suddenly he just snaps and go, get away from me! Get away, all of you! Get away from me! And like, it's kind of like going, oh my God. It's like he's realized he's in Ashanti. It's like all the frustration of being here. He's taking it out on these poor kids.
But what is he doing? What he's doing is basically it's like those old fucking old cowboy movies where a small child has befriended a stray dog.
Yes,
and he doesn't want the dog to go because the dog is gonna kind of the dog could be hurt, or his family took rid of it. He just says, I don't love you anymore. Get away from me. Get away. But he's instead of doing that to an animal, he's doing that to children.
Yes,
who've been enslaved.
Exactly. There's one other thing about that slave kids scene that really struck me. Right, so Malik is played by Kabur Bedi, who was an Octopussy, wasn't he? He was a villain in Octopussy, I think.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's an Indian actor. You kind of know the face, to be honest. He's been in a lot of films.
And there's just like 3, you'd know the face.
That's an expression.
For me, he's a man of color. Look, same to me. Michael Foley, journalist.
Oh God. Oh,
no coincidence. He follows one of the whitest sports, a reporter to one of the whitest sports in the world. GAA, is known for its diversity.
Yeah, well, it is. It is. That's another. We'll get into that another day. Yeah. But there is a marvel. So as Stephen describes, so Malik has absolutely obliterated these guards. He's just destroyed them. Then he goes and he realizes this is not Sula. This is not the camp of Suleiman. This is not the camp of Suleiman. And he strops off.
We got up to comedy accents, foreign accent again. There'll be no coming back from this. There'll be a strongly worded apology, no doubt, or non-apology from Michael via his publicist. So Brian's press over the picture now. Any hopes he has of doing any more books? No, that's pretty much gone.
Look, a lot of stuff has gotten burned by this podcast at this stage. What's left? But he has a strop. Basically, he strops off stage left, and the way it's framed, the first thing that came into my mind was Randy Watson in Coming to America at the end of his set with Sexual Chocolate. He just drops the mic and walks. Malik does the exact same thing here. He just has a strap and walks. It's just, it was the one. I mean, there should be no moment in this film where you laugh out loud, but I have to say, laugh out loud.
Before you laugh out loud, but the bizarre inclusion of a scene of black magic.
Yes,
what?
So a very effective. I mean, a very good scene in a different movie.
In a different movie, absolutely. But yeah, where the kid who was sexually assaulted, again, this is the kind of movie. This is the kid that was sexually assaulted in the first 30 of this movie. Manages to use a mutton bone and some string to murder the guy who assaulted him. But again, this is via the black magic. So basically, voodoo essentially wraps the thread around the throat of the bone. Your man sees this is similarly throttled and vomits up what looks like the contents of Augustus Gloop's stomach and dies. That's it. It looks like Hershey's syrup. Like, it's just, he's dead. Beverly Johnson then makes well her escape by attempting to fake seduce one of her captors. That then follows basically. I tell you what, this movie's over 2 fucking hours long. They decided to get, this needs another a montage chase scene. Well, she's been chased by this guy a good 10 minutes. It's a good 10 minutes of runtime montage. Your man eventually, my man's about to kill her, and Peter Ustinov, Suleiman, who's been out of camp, who's on foot. Peter Ustinov, let's put it this way, wouldn't exactly be winning any foot race, has managed to catch up with them, is not out of breath, and proceeds again to shoot him in the feet twice and leave him to die.
Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, in an awful film, on a wretched film, the last half an hour, if it's possible, drags. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea how this film drags for the last half an hour. Omar Sharif, as we mentioned there, pops up. He pops up like a lad who's ready to, start advertising Sandeman Port or something. Like,
he's walked in off the set of I'm here in Israel to advertise Golden Heights vodka or whatever. Yeah. And this is a handy couple of grand for me to basically wang on about fuck all for 2 days and then disappear down the back of a fucking boat.
Oh God! Apparently, like you mentioned the script before, there was a guy brought in to bulk up the script. Would you believe this? But he spent most of the time bulking.
Was he using hay?
He was George MacDonald Fraser was the man's name. He was uncredited. He was brought in to bulk up the script. Apparently, he spent most of his time bulking up the Omar Sharif character's part in it. Sharif couldn't look more bored. Of all the bored people in this film, he's the one that looks the most bored.
Yeah, he looks like he would rather be playing a game of bridge somewhere, yeah.
Oh, God. Just around, we haven't talked much about Caine's. There's no point in talking about Caine's performance. It is wretchedly awful. It is terrible. As we've mentioned, he in his own words, I did Ashanti solely for the money, and I have never been so unhappy in my career. I swore I would never do it again, no matter how broke I was. That was the one and only time. Bollocks. Though I did what I could with the part, I hated and loathed every second of it. I'm glad at least he said that. Apparently a camel fainted and collapsed on top of him. The film they were in the Sinai Desert. Of course, you talk about me cancelling myself. Caine in 1978, right? So they were filming in the Sinai Desert. Huge tension between Israel and Egypt over who owns the Sinai Desert. Caine said, of all the films I've done, Ashanti was by far the hardest. He said this in 1978. Filming took place in 130-degree heat. The Egyptians can have the Sinai Desert back, as far as I'm concerned. The camels were fainting from the heat, and they still expected me to act. Imagine, Stephen, camels fainting, and Caine expected to do his job.
This goes back to my essential issue with fucking Caine right this now. Okay, you took the fucking check. I do the fucking job. Not just, I'm just here to hit my mark and just say the lines. Yeah. No, fuck him. Absolutely fuck him for this. Again, fuck him in the face for this fucking useless fucking performance.
Yeah.
No, I mean, again, it's like any profession. Like, you made the decision. Nobody put a gun to his head and say, Michael Caine, make Ashanti. And he's there like he's reading a fucking pre-prepared script that's been written by ISIS as he's, going on about the Demon West or the Great Satan or whatever. He's not a hostage. He's put himself in this situation. He's getting well fucking paid for it. You put some effort into it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. There is no kind of humorous out here for him. Again, no. This is the lowest of the low. I was thinking to myself while watching it, he's done worse movies than this, but by the end I had changed my mind on that actually. I don't think, we've seen some terrible things in the 70s, but this is particularly awful. And when you put in all the context everything around, it's the worst.
I think it's the worst out of the movies that he's done. That could actually have been good.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. The premise is good. If they had in some way investigated further the perpetuation of slavery even in the late 70s and the responsibility of the West as to pay or the ignorance of or turning a blind eye to it, that could have been interesting. Mm-hmm. If he started off as being a pacifist and had some sort of character arc whereby he was further and further kind of drawn into violence in order to get what he wanted. If he actually acted like he missed his wife rather than there was some sort of contractual obligation in order to get her. if himself and Malik had more of an interaction rather, like they spend more time together in montages than they do actually. There is no interaction with it. There's
They barely
no
speak.
Malik. They barely speak. There's no. And if they cast somebody other than Peter Ustinov in the bad guy role, where you actually want, you want in a movie like this, as soon as you see, whatever scene that sets up his character, I mean, the audience should want him dead, and you're gunning for that scene.
Yeah.
And when he dies in this, it's kind of,
so what? I mean, the one thing you could say, I mean, you mentioned there about kind of character arc with Caine's character. So, I mean, he starts out as a doctor who can't really do anything that, that Liam Neeson's certain set of skills would have been useful to him in this role. But he does end up shooting Suleiman between the eyes. So it's a bit like the Willoughby conspiracy a while back.
100%. Yeah.
He kind of finally realizes I have to take sides on this issue. I finally have to care, which kind of is more of a commentary on the complete lack of effort to give any sort of emotional depth to this performance. And when I'm talking about emotional depth, I'm only talking about looking like I care about my wife who's been abducted by slave traders. Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm not asking him to go method or do anything significant on it. Just, look like you care about your wife would be good. Yeah. Just before we move on, because I do want to talk about Beverly Johnson, I just want to give a couple of belts to a few other people who deserve belts in this. Richard Fleischer, the director, he's CV includes The Vikings with Kirk Douglas. Remember that? 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Remember that was James Mason for Disney. Rex Harrison, Dr. Dolittle. He did Tora. He did Che with Omar Sharif. He did Soylent Green.
Soylent Green is a good movie.
Yeah, and he did Mr. Majestic with Chaz Brunson. So, like, a mixed bag, to say the least. He had, by this stage in his career, he had earned a reputation as a replacement director. He'd done this before. He replaced John Huston for the last run. He replaced Michael Campus for a movie called Mandingo. Have you ever come across Mandingo?
Yeah, you don't want to watch Mandingo.
No, you don't. It's a slavery film with the heavyweight boxer of the time, Ken Norton. I mean, one very quick review: racist, trash, boring, and cliche written. That's all you need to know. And now he replaced Serafian, I'm going to say, for Ashanti. He actually replaced Sidney Fury. Remember Sidney Fury from the Ipcress File? Sidney Fury was meant to direct The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond some years later. Not actually, maybe a year later or so. Anyway,
across the land, it come to America.
That's the one. So, Fleischer stepped in for that turkey as well. He did a couple of more that might be in your wheelhouse, I'm going to say. Conan the Destroyer and Red Sonja, would they have been?
Conan the Destroyer is a good movie. It's not as good as Conan the Barbarian, and Red Sonja is a fucking flaming trash fire.
Yeah.
That's what Bridget, that was Bridget Nielsen's foray into action stardom, and it did not go. It kind of started and ended with that.
Okay. It's also there was. I mean, I don't know about you. I wasn't able to kind of nail this down, but Fleischer may well have been dismissed during the filming of Ashanti as well. It's either sunstroke or he was let go.
Yeah, but Beverly Johnson was I think was it a DVD extra or some sort of interviews about Ashanti later and made no reference because apparently she was replaced or taken off due to sunstroke, but made no reference to it, so it could be just an urban myth. So, like, have you seen Shang-Chi?
Sorry, what?
Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie that was out this year. Ben Kingsley is in it, reprising the role that he played in Iron Man 3 as Tony Slattery, kind of a Liverpudlian thespian. But in it, he goes how when he was brought to the movies in the 1960s and he went to see Planet of the Apes, he was like, his mind was blown. And that's when he thought that he wanted to be an actor, because he was like, if they can teach those monkeys how to ride horses.
So, as I said at the top, like, Beverly Johnson was a very well-known model at the time. The original female lead walked. I think apparently one of the producers of Ashanti saw Beverly Johnson in the front of Cosmopolitan and decided that's the one. Now in the film, her character.
That's how you shop for actresses back in the day. It's like much like with the with fucking the Family album or the Argos catalog. You just kind of got Cosmo open. It was like, I'll have that one, please.
Apparently so. So her character is it's just one of these weird kind of parallel-y things. Like, her character is drugged in the film when she's presented to Sharif's character, and realize
same as fucking Liam Neeson's daughter in Taken.
Yeah, exactly. It's such. I mean, it's an amazing the parallels between Taken and Ashanti, really, and then you see in Taken how a movie like this could be done, but in real life,
I'm going to punch you in the throat until you tell me where my daughter is.
I know. If only there had been more throat punching in this film. But Beverly Johnson wrote a piece for Vanity Fair in 2014 where she described an encounter with Bill Cosby where apparently he spiked her cappuccino in his apartment or whatever. This is during the 80s. She was getting woozy. She realized what was going on, thankfully, and got angry. and Cosby dragged her out of the apartment and threw her in a cab. It's kind of spooky. It's just, to me, it's a bit spooky, you know, that one thing would happen in the movie and then it just, you know, she.
And also, we've just done California Suite.
And we just did California Suite, yeah, where again he's talking about, you know, women being passed out and they won't be able to hear us. It's just weird. She had a rough time on this film, didn't she?
Well, she apparently she was sexually assaulted by a masseuse or masseur while on set.
Yeah, again, give him a clatter, I think, as well. But you know that doesn't reduce the experience, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just really rough. She put out a single. That song, I think it's the same song. She put out a version of that as a single. And bizarrely, she was pregnant actually during the filming of Ashanti, and her character's name in the film is actually Anansa. And that's the name that she gave to her firstborn daughter, which I think is just incredible, given the film, the nature of the film. But there you go. What do you say?
One thing I do want to say before we wrap this thread up in a nice little bow, the ending of this film I thought was hilarious, simply because you end it with Michael Caine and Nancy in the water. Apparently having escaped, despite the fact that a yacht with heavily armed men is literally feet away and an unarmed guy in a speedboat is circling around them.
Yeah.
That's not ending well. It's basically, Sharif is like, stop the boat there, back it up. Yeah, shoot him. Take her. That's it. Like, it was a real kind of 2 minutes to 5 on a Friday, you know. It's like,
yeah. Oh, we got to wind this up and let's get the speedboat in the back so people will know they'll be okay.
They'll be okay, yeah.
And it's like one of those shots. It's like something from like a Bo Derek film at the time or something where, you know, they're in the water and the sun is kind of sparkling on top and they kiss. And again, like, I mean, the complete and utter.
Plenty of time for that, obviously. Yeah, there's no peril here.
No bother, like, and like the complete and utter absence of any kind of chemistry between Caine and his leading woman on screen yet again is so clear. It's beyond the beyonds. I mean, we're going to give marks for Caine. I mean, the film doesn't even deserve even thoughts of a mark. I mean, what would you
give him nothing? He gets nothing.
Zero. Yeah. It's absolutely lives up to its reputation as the worst, maybe the worst or joint worst thing he's ever done.
It's totally repugnant, is what it is. It's totally repugnant, and for Caine, it's morally, again, God, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, he's moving to America at this point. I think he's living in America at this stage. He does the money. He does the movie for the money. Why he's in the States?
Yeah, but he does this. But put this into perspective. Like, it's not as if he was, you know, living at the side of the road, trying to fucking, you know, make his way in life. You know, exactly. He's a wealthy white actor who does have his own agency. And again, so no pity for him. No pity for you, Michael Caine.
No pity, Caine. No pity, Caine. Like, by rights, he should have walked off this film.
By rights, his career should be in the fucking water. But once again, like fucking Christopher Lee in a fucking Hammer horror movie, back up again next time around. Unbelievable.
We'll have to discuss this maybe in another couple of movies' time when we get into the 80s.
You asked me. I give you one example of current day actor I cannot understand.
Yes,
it keeps getting Ryan Reynolds.
Go on.
Why did they keep giving him roles?
What I asked you.
You asked me. So is there? And I still think there isn't actually really anyone who comes close to Caine who survived so many turkeys and was still allowed to still had a career. Like, look at fucking Bruce Willis, for example. Bruce Willis is a guy who had a pretty good Hollywood career. Never really did anything specifically to have him cancelled or anything like that, or you deserve to be fucking like Mel Gibson's off the side of the road. Not that Mel Gibson has actually gone away because he's still fucking making turkeys to beat the man, but Bruce Willis is a guy who's refused basically to accept the fact that he's old as balls and still insists on making action movies. Yeah. And I would argue since Looper, Moonrise Kingdom hasn't in any way attempted to make a good movie. It's just insists on churning out these fucking direct-to-streaming generic dogshit movies over and over again. But I will guarantee you there will be some sort of Bruce Willis renaissance in a couple of years' time. He'll take some fucking project, whatever, and he'll be back.
Yeah.
It's really good. But I mean, I only picked Ryan Reynolds as somebody contemporary to obviously because we have a very young audience here, and I wanted them to know who Bruce Willis is.
Like Caine's comparably, right? So Caine's 46 when he makes Ashanti.
Bruce Willis is in his 60s.
Yeah. So I'm saying Ryan Reynolds is a good
Ryan Reynolds in his 40s. Ryan Reynolds is somebody's basically, if you look at his career, if you ask what has Ryan Reynolds done, it's a good fucking point. I like Ryan Reynolds, but Deadpool is a good movie. entertaining superhero movie. Deadpool 2, law of diminishing returns there. Other than that, romantic comedy nonsense. The Hitman's Bodyguard, followed by the Hitman's Bodyguard's wife this year. Free Guy. And Red Notice, this fucking dog shit Gal Gadot and The Rock movie that went onto Netflix this year.
Yeah.
All turkeys. And that Michael Bay one again, that went to Netflix the year before, Six Underground or whatever it is. Yeah. Another fucking turkey. Amazing. Still out there, wisecracking it away. Like, man's career should be fucking dead. Yeah, absolutely dead.
And Caine wisecracks his way through this period as well. I came across a little video. I must go back and check it. It's on YouTube. It's a German TV interview with Caine in Beverly Hills, where he arrives up driving. I think it's a Merc, or someone's driving the Merc, obviously he's not driving it, and he gets out, and it's all very plush, and you can imagine now he's wearing his Alan Partridge Alfie jacket, and it's all that. And I'm looking at him going, this is the time you're making The Swarm, Ashanti, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. As you say, Stephen, he's not short of Bob. He can pick. But I think it's something we may come back to in a couple of movies' time. I think the quality of movies he's been offered is definitely on the wane here. Now, he does make I think he makes Dress to Kill in a couple of movies' time, which I've not seen, but apparently it's very good. So maybe, look, there's a break there, Brian De Palma. But definitely the kind of he's not being offered anything near the high-end movies that are available.
I think the issue, that may be and it might be the straw that finally breaks the camel's back with De Palma, is that he's probably being offered an awful lot of stuff that he could do that is a good quality, but it's not paying the kind of money that he wants.
Perhaps, yes.
I think so.
Very true. Yeah. That's actually a very, very good point. That's probably more it. He's probably getting offered decent stuff.
So say what Bruce Willis. I said Bruce Willis is probably, if he fucking put his hand out and said, "Look, I'll star in indie movies for fucking next to nothing. I'll give you a break and add my name and cachet, whatever that's fucking worth to it."
Yeah,
I'm sure his career would be going in a very different direction. But it's like, no, give me my paycheck. Brucey needs his whatever it is that Bruce Willis needs. So I actually don't want it all. I imagine some sort of fucking Troy McClure-esque fish thing, but
Who knows? I think the lesson here, one of the lessons of this Caine podcast journey as we move along and look at actors of a contemporary nature that are going now, that the Caine effect is in fuller effect than I would have thought anyway. There are more actors of Caine's standing, let's say, that have made as many bad movies as Caine has. It's just that his ones are more...
Matt Damon is fucking it. Matt Damon's nearing it now. Matt Damon's
getting there. But again, you see, you have, and like Caine, you see, the point is that we're picking these guys, but they have a selection of excellent films, and then you have this other side that's just beyond the beyonds. It's interesting stuff. But anyway, it's something we can get into more, I suppose, as we go into the 80s. I think we walk now, do we? We done?
We do, we're done. That's more than anyone deserves to hear about Ashanti.
Absolutely. And next up, God only knows. Like, we're just wading through schlock now. So from Ashanti, we jump at what I assume was another cash the check affair. So Caine did the Swarm couple of movies back with director Irwin Allen. Now, you would imagine that lessons were learned by both men. Good friends who apparently met most Thursdays for lunch in Beverly Hills. Good for them. But I mean, it's good. It's okay to meet for lunch, but let's not ever do another movie again, right? Right? No. Let's do another movie. And thus we get Beyond the Poseidon Adventure.
The fire must have been started by the last explosion. More could come any time. I'm telling you, it's a floating time bomb.
It's the last movie of the 1970s, Stephen. I think we should at this point take a moment to celebrate the fact we fucking made it. Like,
I'll celebrate it when we get through Beyond this Poseidon Adventure, and not a second sooner.
Fair enough. So we're going to have a look at the Poseidon Adventure or Beyond the Poseidon Adventure or whatever the next day. We are also going to assess the best and worst bits of Caine in the 70s. Oh my God in heaven. It has to be done though.
Yeah, I was looking forward to next week's episode, but now I'm just doubly excited. I'm overcome with excitement. Literally, it's coursing through my veins.
I'm looking forward to hearing your sting for it. You did a good one for Caine in the 60s, and then we had some lovely bagpipe music. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. That made me laugh when I heard it the last time. Anyway, however many movies ago that was, 20-something movies ago.
Fucking who knows?
God almighty. Anyway, let's go. Let us just walk now.
Let's walk into the desert. Hopefully, the sands will cover us and people will, not mourn us.
I'm going to head for the Tuaregs. I'm heading for the Tuaregs.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk into the desert until the sands will claim me. As usual, follow us on all the streaming platforms of choice. Like and subscribe if you can. Follow us on Michael Caine 2, Twitter, DM us if you have any questions about the movies you want to watch or our lifestyle choices. Until then, we'll see you again next week.
See ya.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. Only nice ones, though. Mean comments will make Alfie cry, and no one wants to see that. The Michael Caine podcast is written, researched, and presented by Stephen Black and Michael Foley, and edited by Andrew Foley. Music is composed by Stephen Black. If you'd like to get in touch, you'll find us on Twitter at Mallow News and at Michael Caine 2. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll find all the rest wherever you get your podcasts. The Mark of Caine is a Mallow News 2 Cubes production. See you next time.